And we're live! The camera's here. You can see the camera, but I don't know how we make this bigger. How do we make this bigger? Connor? How do we make this bigger?
You can, but
how do we make this bigger?
Go to editor. No, go to editor there.
There we go. Yay!
Now you can edit everything. Like,
yeah, that's what I wanted. Well, we have there's a tip jar. Not a tip jar, a jar that's got a follow in it down here.
What?
We had
we have a tip jar. Wow.
Yeah. A little jar with tips and follows and
graphics.
all of those things. Why is it saying I'm playing Call of Duty? We're not playing Call of Duty. You gotta change that.
And the other.
I changed it.
Magic sitting in my way.
Yeah.
No, wait. Can I? Hang on. Wait, no. No, you're good. Are you still in?
Cool shows and podcast. Update information. There we go. That's now updated.
Cool.
That was
A
good.
bit more to the left.
What?
You could probably move the camera a bit more to the left.
That took so long setting this up. There.
Connor Dab.
Connor Dab.
Oh.
Let's go.
We're good. We're live. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're doing. Connor's there.
I can see like the echo of it happening. That's brilliant.
Yeah, you can see the live version and the other live version. Right, so I guess I've got a little plan.
I'm
so
literally there.
First, we're going to talk a little bit about our projects. For people who, if there's probably no one watching this who isn't in the uni. But anyway,
just in case
there is, what's your project, guys?
It's
that game that we
that
don't have a name
that thing
for.
we're working
That
on.
one
If you're
thing,
wondering
the
how
thing that I have the presentation
You have the presentation,
for.
so let's start from there.
We can just look at my awful file structures. No, we don't have to because it's already here. Haha. Can avoid my things. Oh, look at that. Oh, I can't F5 it because it will mess up the stream. But we can look at it. So if in case you can't see, that says Project Icarus.
I mean, that's not just a temporary name for now.
Yeah,
but,
it's gonna change eventually.
with a GIF that won't play because
Oh, really?
I can't full screen it because it will hide everything and mess.
I mean, you can go directly to the actual person now.
All right, this is what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Bam! Look at that. Way cool. Awesome stuff.
How long is this podcast?
Follow. We're going to go for about an hour.
Somehow. We'll find stuff to talk about, I'm sure.
How delayed the stream is? The stream is delayed like
Talk about the current
milliseconds, but then we are watching it from the same room.
Just blame Uni's internet.
What's the geopolitical situation?
Like about 10 seconds.
Any Americans voted?
And then our project. What's our project? Oh, it's Squillamorph. Look at this lovely art done by Connor here.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to step up my game.
Yeah, so we got all this cool stuff. Those are our projects. It currently
Rusty
looks like.
Piranha shout
I
out.
need to make one of
Shout out to
the
third year's
actual
Rusty
character we had.
Piranha.
Shout out to Rusty Piranha. I don't know how
Big Year 3 score.
gainy this mic is, but whatever.
Oh yeah, can everyone hear everyone?
Yeah, can
alright?
you hear
Should be.
everyone?
Yeah, I can see the
mic's,
volume sliders picking up everyone at the same volume. It would seem.
Yet.
And then it dropped for Connor.
Yeet. Okay.
But look what we can do with this. Oh, it's so much fun. Ignore that box that just appeared on your screen. Look at this. Oh. Oh. I don't know how I can zoom in on different people. It's kind of.
Right, I've got to stop looking at like the stream delay. I'm gonna actually turn that off.
It's so
gonna freak
confusing,
me out.
right?
Anyway.
Because then we're just gonna spend the entire podcast
Yeah,
reacting
just
to
watching,
like, what's going on there. So let's turn that off.
Just turn
Alright.
into loops or something.
Shout out to the out of. Well, there's a Squillamorph poster up there. It's all good. Right.
Oh yeah, kind of.
So let's move on to gaming stuff.
You mean
What
MTG Arena?
are we playing at the moment?
You just mean
Let's
Magic the
talk
Gathering Arena.
about Magic the Gathering Arena. In case you don't know what Magic the Gathering Arena is, it's a playing card game.
I think we will have to add more hours.
Yeah, if you don't know what Magic the Gathering is, you should, basically. So
Look
Just
it
quickly
up.
before we continue with this, what's our favourite Fortnite dances? That is a question that we've
Actually-
got.
that is that's-
Wiggle.
Wiggle?
Yeah.
Which would do it.
No, fuck that.
Do it. You have to do it.
No.
Come on, that's the idea. And you have to do it.
No, I'm fine.
Fortnite.
Because the chat doesn't know what the wiggle is. You have to do
Why
it.
haven't you tweeted this out? Oh,
What's the
I'm
wiggle?
behind.
You can't just. That's cheating. You can't just go and look it up.
It's fine.
What are you
Running
doing?
late for work. Take care of it. Thank you very much. Riding goose.
Goose!
Well,
Goose!
he's leaving now.
But is it
Oh.
a goose riding something else, or is it a riding goose? So you ride the goose.
It's whatever Goose wants it to
You know
be.
which one this is.
It's a goose
yeah,
riding
it's like-
a goose.
Like that, right? Oh yeah, like that.
I don't know how loud that's going to be in the stream.
Doesn't matter.
You could have done that easily. Come on, do it. I did it.
Oh, it's fine. It's a good volume.
James, what's your favourite Fortnite dance?
It's this thing I like to call.
No,
I
don't.
haven't seen them, so I'm going.
I was literally about to say, like, is the favorite one is I don't play Fortnite.
Yeah,
Should
that's mine.
have said that.
Well, my favourite one is like the reanimated one, but like fuck trying to do that. It's like
Oh,
Wait,
the
what's that
thriller.
one where,
That's
like
Thriller, yeah.
there was this really weird one where the legs look like they're doing one thing but the body's doing another. It's like this sort of weird.
I'm pretty sure that's all
So I'm
that
pretty sure you know
the
that.
floss.
Is it?
James
no, it's
floss.
not. It's not the floss.
It
I
is
know.
floss.
I know what the
That's
floss
literally
is.
what that is. You were literally doing the floss
No,
in
the
your
floss
chair.
is the.
No, that's not what a floss is. Floss is what you were thinking it was.
Oh well, then I. Oh well. Okay.
Wait,
Come on, James, floss.
No, I'm not.
You
not
are
flossing. That's
literally
really bad on
ninja.
the.
because that's his favorite.
What? Reanimated. It's so good.
Let me just full screen that image.
I'm not
That
ninja,
makes
but-
it cool.
It's
Yeah,
like
there's a theory.
a theory.
You
yeah.
might be ninja.
New hit theory. That is.
Such amazing full screen.
He was gone for a while
what-
when you
what?
started.
Hmm?
He was gone for a while.
Okay,
when
do
you
it one
started
more time because
incubating.
the white edge is really annoying me.
Was he actually?
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Theory.
That white edge, yeah. Yeah.
So why have we got this up?
What?
Full screen?
What?
Just
I
because
don't
you
know,
got to the...
because we got something in the background. Well,
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Connor, you're a weeb.
I'm a weeb. I know I am. I
Let's
proudly
change
Oh, by the way,
admit it.
our chat is over there, and the camera's up there.
I proudly admit it. I'm keeping an eye on the thing. So I may interrupt you when you're talking about your stuff, but like, keep going. You're talking about like magic, right?
Yeah, we were
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
magic. So
well, that's come up... When did it come out? A few months ago?
open
was
beta
it?
was like
Weeks?
this, but it was middle of last month. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
So, we've basically been playing it every day.
Yep, pretty
Uh,
much.
I think
Every-
most of us in here.
Woo!
Cheers,
Yay.
Brett.
Or you get my amazing notification, which Noosh, you did have one, but you did
Yeah,
it before the
you-
stream.
Noosh, too early.
Too early, too soon. Hashtag
That's-
too soon.
There was like a sex joke in there somewhere, but like I completely, you know.
Yeah.
I saw what it was.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
You
fine.
came too early.
Yeah,
there you go.
let's do that. Let's go with that. Anyway,
Cool.
yeah, I think everyone in here has been playing like Magic like every single morning.
Is
Yeah,
it?
it's like our ritual for the morning is for like until 10 we pretty much play Magic and then we just work solid.
such hard-working people.
Yeah, I know. We
Yeah.
are probably the most hardworking people.
So start at 10,
Start at
an
10
hour.
for the next
Three hours.
hour until about lunchtime. We are just arguing over why our bugs aren't fixing themselves.
And that's what they-
shouting at each other.
Shouting at each other.
And that's what you want people to think.
And
Then after lunch is around 3.
so we go until like 12:30, and then this is actually a lie. We only play Magic for like
Yeah.
about half an hour to an hour at lunchtime,
And
and then we go back to work.
And then the next best game is League.
League of Legends.
Debatable.
Huh?
Yeah.
Debatably next best.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the one we play
Upsets
most
me.
next is
Yeah.
probably is definitely League. But I mean, we
James-
play that
James
pretty much
is
every
being
evening at the
silent.
moment.
Scion,
James,
suicide.
James suicides more than he should be.
It's his playstyle,
It's
guys.
his
It's his
playstyle.
playstyle.
Doesn't do what he's supposed to do as
I'm a
eating
bad
Zion.
player. I have no excuse.
You don't.
You had one job.
How-
Take towers.
and I failed to
Right.
do that. But no, I'm
Hey, Tank Nation, what's up?
Hello.
Tank Nation. Oh,
League
Look at
of
that.
Legends.
Amazing. Thank you.
Nation 30, thank you for the follow. I know this isn't like an official incubator channel, but
I think for like future ones, we're gonna have a bit more of like a
Preparation.
general,
I think it's the
prep.
word.
Like, I didn't even know we were doing this until midday.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And I planned out what we were going to be talking about like 10 minutes before we did this. So,
Yeah, good job.
How are we doing today? We're doing alright. We've just done a presentation on our game projects that we're making.
We should probably go into that a bit first before
On the
we
game
talk
projects?
about.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
Talk a bit more about. I mean, I
How
don't know.
did you find the presentation Media Shake?
Media Shake, yeah, company Media Shake here. These two.
Advertising.
We're not really like
they got
organised very
merch.
well on screen.
Huh?
We're not very organised very well on
No,
screen.
we will have
No,
to-
we're
we'll
a
have to
bit
talk
like
about-
sort of.
50-50.
Yeah, it's a bit sort of whoop.
I think he's probably moving it there
We're
next
revealing this
time,
today,
and-
by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving Squillamorph and
Oh.
I am joining Media Shake.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
my
yeah,
shake
we talked
with
about that, didn't we? Yeah, of course.
We just swapped teams.
you. It's private.
Well.
This was the reveal moment. Anyway.
Oh,
I got
okay.
it. I'm kidding, James. I wouldn't leave.
You. I don't. What do you mean? You assume we found the presentation via the room number?
What?
um.
Oh, how
Oh,
did we find
you
the
found-
presentation? Gotcha.
That
No,
was not funny.
right. So no, I don't know how you guys found it, but we thought your presentation was brilliant, and I thought our presentation.
Do you just ignore I'm there like all the time? It's like Squillamorph in a nutshell. It's like
Yeah, there's no arse.
Oh, the way Colin's there too.
It's just me. It's, I'm making
You're shot, you're
Squillamorph.
covered by
By the
someone
way,
else. Like,
Conrad
oh,
is
that's
just
fine.
sort of sat next to me the whole time. I don't
This
know
is
what he does.
this is why I'm joining Media Shake.
Exactly. No, to be honest, one thing I'd say is like until we talked about it later, I didn't
Joe's not
realize.
here. Just
Oh.
saying.
Yeah, Joe's left.
Joe left.
I didn't realize that we hadn't talked about the game until you told me, like when we finished the presentation. You were like, "Oh yeah, you did talk about more the process," and we literally didn't even talk about what the game was. Like we sort of
Yeah, you
surveilled
Yeah,
over it.
yeah.
We didn't go into depth with any of the mechanics, anything
Right.
at all.
I think that's alright because that's like I think this presentation is more supposed to be like an inspiration to people
Yes, yeah.
than a this is our game.
Yeah, we sort of focus it more on again.
How we actually got into Incubator after a year of delay.
Well, yeah, that
I think that in itself is like a really
How
kind
did
of
you
like
manage that, by
funny
the way?
thing.
well, it was sort of quite lucky because I came to the game show, your game show,
yeah.
and started talking to Joe actually, and he was just telling me about what a train wreck of the incubator. No, the incubator last year was. Not the game show itself.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Just what all the problems that they've had and all the challenges
Don't
that
know
they've had.
how much we can.
And then he told me that the next thing
Yeah.
was that he didn't accept all the people that had gone to him, and he had some extra spaces. So I just emailed him that day, and I was like, look, we're doing this project because we already do, as I said in the presentation, we're already doing the game by ourselves beforehand.
Sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Ooh.
We're no sponsor.
I'm gonna make sure that the label is like perfectly in with
Hashtag not sponsored. But shout out to both Lego and Blizzard in the same.
Because they need shout outs, right?
Because
I
they
remember-
need
They're
shout
Actually, they do
indie
now because of the
company.
controversy.
I remember Tom telling me about like
Sponsored.
past third years, like that were in my original year, like joining, and I was like, shit, who the fuck's that gonna be?
Yeah.
I was like proper nervous about it. I was like, who the fuck is it gonna be?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I nearly wet myself in her ears at GT. I was like, oh cool, that'll be great. So, yeah.
But yeah, okay, that's.
Yeah, so it was just like out of the blue, really. Then Andy answered us the day afterwards on LinkedIn and was like, "Yeah, what's your idea?" So
Awesome.
yeah, because we also backstory. We did
The coolest drink on the planet, Coca-Cola, not sponsored.
Are you satisfied, Connor?
I don't even like Coca-Cola.
I am. Coca-Cola.
Oh,
Anyway.
I got a free Coke from Nero the other day for no reason whatsoever.
From who?
Nero, the
Cafe
Nero. Yeah.
What?
I bought a coffee and I got the app and it was like, oh yeah, you got free Coke. I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Awesome.
But-
That's great.
Yeah, the incubator after us is going to be interesting.
You know, let's bring this. Oh, that's
It'll be
the mouse on
interesting
that
to, like,
screen. I want.
Well,
See how it
in
goes.
our year there was pretty much no one coming in, right?
Same
yeah,
as
I mean,
ours.
our year 3 was the same.
It's a very consistent thing in the third year. especially.
People start to think about it more towards the end. I think of if you have a good enough product.
Well, I think I think like we went for incubator, like that was our goal from the get.
Yeah. When we heard about it in year 2,
In our
we decided we wanted to.
in our year, it was basically us and Joe were like, oh, maybe
Tom was thinking about it earlier
there
on.
were a
I
few
think.
people.
But your year it was advertised already because we only
Yeah,
knew
your
about
year.
it later on.
Yeah. 'cause it was,
We didn't even know that there was incubatees. Like they didn't
Oh yeah,
show
they only
up.
showed
We didn't
it,
know
like,
who they
at the
were.
end of the
Like we honestly there was nothing like this.
Yeah.
We had no idea
so-
who
but
they
that's
were.
but that's something that like I really want to. I personally really want to be different about this year's incubator. I like to be very like involved in what's going on
Yeah.
with like students and stuff and sorting stuff out. I think it's
Yeah.
super important. Like the people that kind of know what we're doing.
So same, because that was the one thing that was lacking from.
Even when last year's was it?
Yeah, the year before, when they actually had a bit more communication, I feel like, because we kind of, they kept putting up tutorials and stuff, so we heard a little bit, and they were mainly tutorials that were focused on what they were doing.
Yeah,
So they would
we
use
got
like
that,
an example, and that was something that I thought you could kind of see how they were progressing. But apart from the presentations, there was really no.
Yeah, I mean it was limited to that basically. It wasn't live.
Which is why we're doing
live
this.
interaction. Yeah, exactly.
So we can keep you up to date always and forever until
How often are we doing
don't.
this, by the way?
Probably every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Every 2
Every Wednesday.
No, every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Every
Okay.
Wednesday
It's been
at
picked this third year.
probably
a bit later
morning. I was gonna say morning.
Shouldn't we do evening from like 5?
But what about games?
No, yeah, we can.
No, we
do
could do the
We
evening.
can
actually.
incorporate
We
it
can do
together.
from
I
5
should,
to 7 and then play games.
Oh, that's true. We could live stream us playing games. Who would like to see us live stream playing games in the evenings on Wednesday?
We are terrible, but
Wait.
I'm the worst.
Only for
at
you,
video
Brett.
games.
Wait, don't rope me in with that we are terrible. I'm a master.
I'm a
Who's terrible
bad
what?
gamer.
Oh, gamer.
That's just saying.
But we can do
everyone's
board games. We don't need to
Oh, we
play.
could do board games
Oh,
on camera. We got high quality. We can play physical Magic the Gathering.
Exactly. I
No,
got this
no.
already.
no, that's banned.
Why?
Digital one is enough.
But we don't have custom matches.
Exactly. We can't play against each
Who
other.
do you
What's the
think should
point?
be in the incubator from this third year? I will not say. I will not say.
I
don't know.
will also not say.
I will not say.
That's right.
But
I think people.
I will say a very generic you and you and
Yeah.
you and you and
it's
you.
going to be
Everyone.
There is a lot of potential from everyone in third year.
There is actually. Yeah, I think anyone who decides to go for it has quite a good
A
chance.
small thing I would say though, like especially from coming from a point where we were planning this
Okay.
before the incubator, that doesn't mean
Trash.
it doesn't mean
Yeah, we're
that we like you can't do it by yourself. Sure,
Yeah.
the incubator gives you a lot of potentials and stuff like that, but if you have an idea, you can't. It doesn't mean you can't do it by yourself. So.
I mean, Unity's free anyway.
Yeah.
You can get you don't need Photoshop. You can use Paint
Yes,
for
you do.
pixel.
Or
art.
Gimp.
Photoshop is
or
only
Use
Gimp.
Sprite.
Gimp.
Gimp.
Photoshop is only £12 per month.
Yeah, I mean, just get a part-time job and like do that occasionally.
Yeah.
I finished my Coca-Cola.
Honestly,
You can stop
you do
doing
not
the free
need
advertising.
like a. What is this with you? Shall we just throw in another one? Buxton water,
Plug everything.
Maybe we get sponsors by
Apple iPhones.
I just realised it's not a vanilla
We got
Coke
the
or a
Android.
shitty taste Coke. How can?
What do you mean a
They're all on
shitty
Android
taste?
phones.
Wait.
Hang on, we're being
Coca-Cola
sponsored.
cherry. Coca-Cola cherry
What do
is
you-
shiny.
Anything that is Coca-Cola but isn't Coca-Cola is shit.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's a lie.
You heard it here first. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Buxton water. It's wet.
It's
You're ruining,
wet.
you're ruining my campaign.
In other news, papery. Anyway,
No, so yeah.
No, I
So how did so
That's
you
not-
guys?
I always make it awkward. It's all good.
So overall, you think the presentation went okay? Your presentation.
Yeah. It was actually nice to watch you guys. I know we would hear doing the presentations side by side, but it was nice, I think, seeing it from the audience point of view
Yeah.
and you guys presenting it.
Well,
It was
like,
quite nice.
yeah, like
It
we
gave it
do
different-
work here together and stuff, and we're always kind of like perceptive of what everyone's doing here, but like it gives you a lot more kind of like information about like what everyone's doing.
Yeah. And
Because
also,
you really don't, you don't have like a complete idea of what everyone's doing, but like the presentation did a really good job. Like I didn't know what, like for example, Joe, I didn't know what Joe had done really, so I was like, I was quite impressed when I saw his work
Really?
because it was just interesting to see what he was up to.
Yeah. No, it
It was
was.
a very good sales
Pretty
pitch.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
I mean, I wanted to play this game after that thing, but like, oh,
I didn't even think about the Battlefront thing until was it Brett? Brad brought it up.
Brett. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Brett's here.
Brett. Hello, Brett.
So Brex Zero.
Brex.
Joe's work looks good, but hard to tell without seeing the game. To be honest.
2 weeks. He said.
He said 2 weeks. Demo in 2 weeks.
2
For
weeks.
only, but it's for Patreon.
Yeah, I was.
No, we are-
Creators or whatever.
We are technically staff.
Oh yeah, we can flag our way.
I was
we could, yeah.
anyway. I was personally. I was bricking it. I did not want to do this presentation at all.
Oh yeah, I
Shitting
did not want to
myself.
go into that room.
Wait,
But
when I saw the
You
time
have
of
to
the
do it,
time
so-
on the presentation slide, I was like, we've got 2 minutes. And then I was like, okay, any questions? And then you started going into like an in-depth answer, and I'm like,
Yeah, the people can wait.
how did you see the time? By the way? Was it just on the clock? Or?
you have to for the presentation, because PowerPoint does 2 different windows.
Yeah.
It's got your presentation, and it's got like slides. You can see all these slides that are coming up. You can see the next slide. You can see the time you've
Yeah,
been in the
but it was
presentation, and a clock.
Did you change the display setting?
No,
The people who were rushing.
I
today.
think they've set it up in there,
Ah,
but
okay.
I don't know.
Because I tried to do it with the slides, but it still showed that extra window on the screen, which was really annoying.
I
So-
think with Google Docs it does.
That's what I'm saying.
We didn't use Google Docs.
Yeah,
Use
so
PowerPoint.
I think we'll use PowerPoint next time.
I know people were saying use Google Docs, but like,
It's better. It's better.
It's easier, not better.
It's just simpler to
yeah, but
put stuff together.
but presentation PowerPoint is the OG, shall we say?
It's a more
And
advanced
it
version.
messes up your font, which is a
That's
a feature
right.
a feature
Look,
you want
hang on.
when you're presenting to a large audience.
I'm pretty sure you can embed the fonts, and I just forgot to do it because I didn't think about it because I thought it would be on everything. If you're interested in what that font actually looks like, by the way, and it looks pretty good.
I doubt people are that interested. If I'm being perfectly
That's
honest.
what the font looks. You can't
Oh
see it.
wow!
Like this is what the I can't look at my mouse on that. That's what the font looks like. Blah, blah. So you don't get it like hidden behind the GIFs and stuff. But I mean, you know, Google just likes messing it up. Oh, I've lost.
Comic sense.
I've lost. Okay, there it is. Cool. So like, yeah.
GIFs.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a really interesting kind of experience to go up there and kind of present what we had been working on, because it's been relatively kind of like not secretive, but very kind of like isolating working on the stuff that we've been working on, and it's really strange to kind of just like unveil that to people.
Mm-hmm.
In,
It'll
like,
be
one
nice
thing.
to when we roll out sort of testing and stuff. If we can do it on Wednesdays here.
Yeah.
Sort of maybe do it as a side thing with
'Cause
the podcasts.
Because we do want to. Is that going to come back on?
Yeah.
it is. Because we do want to like do more stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not coming back on.
Even with the
Yeah,
game
sure.
nights, maybe.
Hmm?
I know there's one tonight in the uni,
I
but
don't know. It's just
What
like
focus is doing on this camera? It's being really weird. Like you're really out of focus.
who?
You guys. You're like blurred. It's pretty weird.
it's good.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Yes.
Yeah.
Do a little roam around with the camera, to be honest. Selfie.
It doesn't look like you're doing a permanent selfie, by the way.
No, like
I think moving into the centre computer would definitely be good for next time. Because then we can have 2 seats on the side and then a couch in the middle.
I agree.
That'd be perfect balancing.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even really need to like move the computer that's live streaming either, because you just move the cameras over.
Yeah,
you have the mouse. You just need the mouse, and then
But we can even just.
We could put it on there as well. But then on here we've got like the sound that comes out of it, so we can hear the notification. But it does get picked up by the mic, which
Just
is
give me a monitor and we'll be all good.
I've lost my cool little background. Okay, well, that's a bit weird now.
Yeah, is there anything else like you want to talk about in terms of like presentations?
I think that's.
What did you think of ours? Actually, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting into it before, but yeah, it's good.
Cool.
It was solid.
Because we winged that thing.
We really did. We
didn't.
I had barely seen the presentation until 15 minutes before we left, and James. But like I was saying this to the third years. James did it because I'm not very good at like speaking publicly. I don't enjoy it very much. But James did a really good job of like going to me. Okay, Connor, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then you talk about that stuff because I know that you will be able to just like talk about it like passionately for ages, and you'll be fine.
That was actually fun because you were doing it before. It was like, okay, let's go through slide by slide and let's see who does what. And James starts is like, okay,
mine,
that's
mine, Connor's mine, Connor's.
So, and I tried to.
You did a really good job at balancing out what we were saying, and I felt so
tried
bad because we got to that point where I said it was going to be your slide, and then I talked, and I went, oh god, I'm not supposed to be talking.
That's alright, I let you go with it. I didn't know what to say.
It's kind of interesting. Programmers, artists.
Well, I actually got inspired by watching your presentation. I really liked how like you guys were kind of just chipping into each other's kind of conversation. So I wanted to kind of like add that to our presentation. Like I kind of just like added on to what you were saying with like my general thought process. It gave it a little bit more kind of like.
Yeah,
it makes it feel a bit less. I mean, not that our presentation was scripted at all because we literally just improv.
I made this. Well, like I said earlier, I don't need an artist. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nah. Anyway, I guess
that's it for
presentations. so we talked about the presentations. Any like things you want to mention about your project that is upcoming and people might look out for, or we're gonna have a tutor coming in?
Testing.
No, it's not a tutor. It's a
first year.
It's a first year. It's Will. It's Will. Get in on it. We'll have a live stream guest, podcast guest, first guest on the podcast.
Come and say hi to everyone.
What do you mean, come on?
Come in. You could be our first official guest.
From UCA games.
First year.
Yay!
I mean, help me. I was just wondering if you guys were doing a podcast.
Yeah,
we are indeed.
You can watch it.
You answered my question.
You can watch it live. Put it on the big screen. Get everyone cheering.
Let's not. Let's not do that.
I want to do that.
Put it on every other screen.
Yeah.
Just like the where the guy set him up with all Gandalf's face.
Shut
Just
it down.
sound.
Do that.
I love that video.
You're interrupting me.
It's fine.
So good.
What were we saying?
We're talking about. We're moving on to things you wanted to mention about your projects, upcoming things. Anything
that
for people
wasn't
to look
the
out
call.
for? Social media.
I mean, like, well, we're working on multiplayer at the moment, so you know we'll have that coming up very, very.
So
soon.
you're actually doing that? Oh, okay. I thought.
Guys, sandbox mode.
Again, artist point of view, coder's point of view.
I just wanted to say that while watching James' reaction and his his just loss of goes pale while I say it.
We're not. No multiplayer yet.
Yet? See, he said it. Yeah.
Local multiplayer.
No multiplayer massively
Full
online.
online.
Lots of people. 100 people in one game.
Maybe 6 years time.
What
Maybe.
are you guys working on?
What was I going to say? I think the main thing would be social for both of us, from what I've understood, is just boost out social interactions more and more as much as we can. This being one of them,
Yep.
And
Also
then-
need to make a playable demo.
And making, I think the next step as well for both of us is making a playable demo so we can get people to test it
Yeah.
and get even more feedback.
Our
I think
deadline for that, for a playable demo of sorts, is Christmas.
Ours was 9 days ago.
Awesome.
Too many.
Well, we're more like the 1st of
Redesigns.
December, so we're going to try and get something done for then, so that we can have some sort of
Yeah,
playtesting period before uni finishes for the.
Single player, right, James?
Do you want to specify?
Single player demo. There will be no multiplayer in Squillamorph other than local multiplayer. Disclaimer coming now.
I mean, you could pull a No Man's
We are
Sky.
not No Man's Sky. I am no Sean Murray. Sadly.
There are players, but you need to imagine them.
Squillamorph is a battle.
There are other players, yes.
Squillamorph is battle royale now.
Do you know? I'd love it to be a battle royale.
That's
Exactly.
exactly.
Look at the as if on cue.
Literally, as I said that.
Yeah, we'd love to have a battle royale.
That's what I said.
Because you take over creatures, you have like a jungle.
How
you take
fucking
over creatures
sick
and you
would that
fight
be?
other.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can
it'd
even
be
like
great,
you
but
can even infest like chameleons and shit. So it makes you go invisible.
there's always a but.
You
There's
would
no
have to
bar.
rewrite all the code.
Yes, I would. I wouldn't have. Yeah, I would. I'd have to rewrite all the code to communicate between clients and the server, and it's all complex stuff.
And you probably need to switch engines because.
I'd essentially have to just go. Let's forget what I've been working on and make it again
Okay, time to get to
for
work.
the
Man.
third time. Arena game.
Did it in
but
2
I-
years.
We did it in year 2.
Yikes.
Oh, I thought it
Yes,
said 2 years.
but not with custom physics. So.
Yeah, and as we talked about, that's something I want to talk about.
Alright. Go on then. What do you
Yeah,
want?
let's take a back seat from this
What do you
conversation.
want to talk about?
I didn't actually want to talk about it. It just was
Okay.
funny how it came up in the presentation again
I
about
had to
custom
say it
systems.
because, like, I wanted to make sure that people knew that it's not rigid bodies, because it's not. It's custom physics system controllers.
James, why are you getting so?
I just wanted to make it clear that I made a custom physics system.
And now we know the truth for why James did it.
And
Just
now
to
it's
say
broken.
that.
Um,
and
but-
it's not working.
No, I actually did it because I
No,
thought
I
it
know.
was not as complex as it was.
And
And
then
at
you
this point
realised.
at this point, I've realised that it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Because it was working in year 3, fine. I don't understand what's different. Oh, it's because I implemented delta time rather than locking the frame rate. Because for some reason that works easier.
Here's a way to organise this. Let's go round.
Alright.
Ask each other what you've been working on at the moment. James,
That's a good point.
what have you been working on recently?
Collisions and custom physics. Right, that's
Since
pretty
year
much that.
3.
Since year 3.
Is that you don't want to
No,
elaborate?
basically, I've been working the sharks in the game, which like you can see on the website that limits game footage. Anyway, basically the sharks in the game, I've improved the collision to make sure that the sharks don't start going through things and messing up on corners and getting stuck. So the new collision works great, apart from the fact
What?
that when they are trying to climb over a wall, the sharks don't go up.
You can you?
I don't know why. It's
Yeah,
really
you
weird because the
really
collision
focus.
isn't happening. That limits the up and down motion. So yeah, I don't know what's causing that.
It's not
Because the
James,
older
that's the
collision
story.
system, which is literally just me moving the raycast a little bit from like a smaller box on the sprite to a bigger box on the sprite, it works fine. So I don't know why the bigger box doesn't work. It's weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I've been working on. I've also been working on the Game Jam last week, and you can
Oh.
download that at the Squillamorph website. One bullet. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be taking that further eventually. Anyway, and that will have local multiplayer and maybe actual multiplayer if I can be asked to do that in stretch goal. Right.
Actually, what have you
That's
been
it.
working on?
What I've done, tile maps.
But you mean,
Scorpion
mean
tile
the-
maps?
okay, yeah. Tile
tree
sets.
tile
Tile
maps?
sets. Tile sets.
Yeah, same thing.
Tile sheets.
Tile
Tile
sheets.
sheets.
Tile sheets. Tile
Spike
sets.
sheets.
More tile sheets, and what I will be doing in the future, shit ton of more tile sheets.
More tile shits. So
Yeah.
anyway, a shit ton of tile shits. Okay.
I mean, we're also redesigning some
Yeah.
designing some aspects.
But a lot of design work
Yeah, yeah.
also.
that's constant, I think, throughout the whole process.
That will never stop.
Yeah.
Maybe at the last month of the project, but not even
Maybe.
probably.
Apparently they've improved multiplayer ease of use in 2019.
So Connor, what did you
Okay.
do?
What did I do?
Yeah, what have you done, Connor?
I've been practicing Fortnite dances.
Is that what you waited to say?
Yeah.
This image in the background Connor made earlier on today. So.
Yeah, well, I've been like serious on a serious like note. Yeah, I've been I've kind of just been doing like lots of random things for the game. Like I've been like working on things, because obviously like the speed at which it takes for like I'm trying to say this in a way where it's like obviously not like
the speed of me developing things doesn't match the speed that he can make the assets.
Because it's not a dig. I know
that, but what I'm saying is that's what it is. It's it doesn't add up.
So
why are you looking at me like that?
I've kind of been doing.
Exactly. I was looking at you and
just like
thinking about what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, yeah. He agrees.
So
programmer struggle.
We've got like the basic sprites ready for like we've got the shark. We've got like the test dummy. We've got the.
You could say testicle for a second.
We've got the shooting enemy sort of done. Like obviously this is all kind of like it will be detailed more around time because I like to work on things in not such a linear way. I like to work on like multiple things in one go because it like helps my it just helps me kind of concentrate and stay motivated because I'm always working on something that's like new and exciting in that way. So today and yesterday, like a little bit of yesterday, I've been working on obviously like this splash image for the game.
Which looks awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
It'll hopefully look alright when I've rendered it out a bit more. But I've been doing that, and I've also been like playing. We've also been playing around with like doing the traditional animations for some of the enemies. So again, it's just lots of. I'm doing quite a lot of like interesting and exciting things that I have like time to like really kind of do stuff like that and test stuff out on the side. So and hopefully it will look really really cool.
One of the things I admire Connor for is his ability to work on lots of different things and then keep going back to them because I can't do that.
It's my way of like staying. There's a word for it, not like motivation. But there's a word for like not like
organised.
It's kind of an organisation. It's a way of dealing with my lack of organisation, and it's also a way of like it's a way of really.
We're always organised. There's no lack to keep it ever.
It keeps me engaged, yeah.
This
like,
podcast
I'm
is an example of that.
What you're doing.
And I tend to have like a low attention span, so like it's much easier for me to like switch back and forth between different projects I'm doing inside and outside of the game. So yeah, it's really exciting. What about you, Alessio? What have you been working on?
I mean, I've been sort of actually low on the production the last few weeks just because I was doing the teaching, then the game jam. My game wasn't half as good as what James did, but it featured slimes sucking bullets in, so who cares?
Suck them bullets.
Suck them bullets.
Game too.
Connor did make it.
Yeah, that was awesome as well. Yeah,
I was very impressed.
I need to finish it at some point.
It actually worked.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
It was super fun to work on, and like I was talking about like this. Like obviously I don't know what it's like to actually do programming or anything like that because I only did it for a little bit. But the work, like the reward system when you're coding is very different to when you're drawing because you end up like people may disagree with me. This is just my personal take on it. It was really exciting when I got like something working in code. Like there was an immediate reward there of like. Damn it, I've just made this move and it's really, really exciting. I'm really excited, I'm really motivated to continue. Obviously, when you're going more in depth with it, there's going to be more like grilling parts.
I was gonna say.
I'm looking at James because he's been doing this for 2 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like I feel that's true whenever you start a project, coding wise anyway.
Yeah,
you get this reward system really quickly, and then you hit this sort of brick wall.
Which I did.
Yeah, I'm in that full mode now, but. Where
progress
you
just
just get
stops.
stuck. Yeah, because you're not dealing with just coding something anymore, but you're dealing with all your previous code, which then doesn't work with the new stuff that you want to feature.
I get
Many
that.
bugs.
Yeah,
Whereas when you're like drawing,
you don't have that.
there's very little like rewards.
Yeah.
It's very like when you're an artist and you're drawing stuff. It's like even when you finish something, it's like.
That's why it's a good idea
Nope.
to always
Of course.
post your work online.
Yeah, I mean it's good to just.
Every time.
It's good to just
Yeah.
finish.
Okay.
It's good to just finish something and then just put it out. Like even if it like.
But I wish we had that more in coding.
Because
What?
yeah, with us,
Just finishing
we can't,
something,
we can't
'cause-
finish it and then put it
It's
out
never
there
finished.
because, like, but you finish something and then you got to do the next thing for that to then become a game.
Yeah.
That's why games
You can't just make
are
like
really
the shark and
buggy
say,
nowadays.
"Hey, here we go, game!"
It's
Woo!
because of how much code goes into them.
Yeah, you'll constantly sort of have to think about that. And I'm actually yesterday I started sort of actually working on implementing the enemies. And as we were talking about, I wanted to note about what you were saying about the different rhythms. Like, you're like years ahead of what I need. Like, whenever I go to do something new, I'm like, okay, I've got all the assets ready for it already. Like, I've got an enemy with all the animations for it, even though I haven't even done half of them. But at least I got it, so...
Don't worry, I will ramp it up soon.
But the cool thing is that once you, with the coding, sorry,
That's right.
once you've done something, like for example, I'm using the same system that I use for the player, for the enemies, so it's entity based. So there's a little bit of nitpicking that I have to do to move it onto that. But once I've done those nitpicking things, we'll be able to produce a large number of enemies really, really quickly. So where Masek is in front of me at this point,
You will catch up eventually.
it will catch up and
Maybe.
it won't go over because then I'll start helping you making more enemies, but it'll free
I think
my
you
time
will
up.
still have a lot of code to do.
Yeah, of course. But it just goes in waves, it comes and goes. I think.
Eventually, we'll hit that point where the shark is done,
Yeah.
and we can just focus on getting that level done.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that then becomes like, I'm then sort of full-time level design,
Yeah.
and Connor can help me out with like figuring out what actually looks good and plays good, and then I can chip in with any assets
Yeah,
that need help
like-
with, stuff like that.
Like
It-
James,
it
but like James
scales.
has jokingly alluded to throughout the course, like for a while, like James is like a more than capable artist himself. You do have like the eye, and it's good to like have you there to like help me out with like making sure things look right, because it's very difficult sometimes when it's nice that I'm working with someone that has like a kind of nice like wavelength. They knows what looks good. They know what should be right. So in that sense, it's good because it just keeps everything. It keeps the work. It tends to keep the different sections we're working on a lot like very small, much smaller, because there's a lot less kind of like stagnation where you would be kind of wondering stuff a lot, like
Yeah,
wondering if things work, wondering if things don't work.
I think that's the main thing when you work as a team. Like, if you don't harness that power of constant being able to critique each other, then what's the point of doing a teamwork?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
as Joe mentioned in his presentation, doing it by yourself means you can do it quicker, but it also means you can't have doubts.
Yeah.
Whilst in a team, you can push those doubts backwards
Exactly.
and forwards
Yeah.
until
You
you
can
get
bounce
it.
ideas
And you
off
have
each other.
you also have a support system which is constantly keeping you
Definitely.
like engaged and like
I-
keeping your work fresh and.
I like how you guys mentioned in your presentation that you guys argue about the same things a lot.
Well, I think like
That wasn't it. Like, I remember when we first, it was the first week or second week, wasn't it? Where you guys were talking to each other for 20 minutes and I'm just there like, I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to tell them. I'll let them be. You're talking about the same thing,
Well,
but
To be
Connor
honest,
can
we do
see
the
that, but
same
I
thing.
can't.
yeah.
Well, I think it's important for like to bring that up in a presentation like we're doing. It needs to be noted that it's when you're working as a group, it's normal
It's part
to
of
have
the
arguments.
process.
You have arguments.
It's how you
There's
It's
no
more
point
like
hiding it and
debates.
wonder. There's no point
There's
like
no
wondering
debate,
like.
just screaming and
Because then
shouting.
like other groups are like, well, they're
They're
not.
like,
They seem to be
oh,
happy as Larry.
shit, we're talking
but
about the
ours
same
is
thing.
struggling.
I mean, we've had this experience where we
Yeah.
had, and
I
so
love
that led to that person leaving. But where he wouldn't be on this wavelength of accepting criticism. So we were there, and it was hopeful from his point of view as well, because from his side, where he wasn't used to this kind of stuff, he was always working on himself, by himself. He then found me and Masa just not shouting at him, but like, you know, from his point of view, was shouting at him all the time, telling him this not good, this not good, this not good.
It's not like
so
it's not like a personal attack.
No, exactly. But if you take it personally and you don't deal with it properly, then you're obviously going to feel stressed, and you're obviously going to, you know. But I think that was also part because, you know, if you're not used to working that way, and if you don't expect it, then you can't deal with it.
And it is frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's no deny that it's like frustrating to constantly like have that workflow where you're like back and forth with someone for ages on something.
But
it always turns out right.
Better.
I think we've come up with some of our best ideas this way.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah,
likely.
if I didn't have Connor constantly pushing these really cool ideas that I keep on going, because I'm like, how do I do it? Then it would be the most boring game ever.
I think the shark jumping is one of like the key things and one of the key arguments we had for a long time.
And it actually like, because the shark technically doesn't jump as such. It's more of it's like a directed jump. So a jump in my sense is up and down.
Here we go again.
Yeah, that's it.
Like left, right, and then you can just sort of make it go to the right, but you're still just going up and then down. Whereas like the shark's jump is a directed thing where you are literally launching yourself in one direction.
But that's just a good example of like us being on the exact same wavelength and arguing about the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Because my definition of a jump is just making something, giving something a mobility ability that can take it higher.
But I thought it sounded a bit silly because the shark's got arms and it's like, oh, he's gonna, there, I'm jumping, there. But like a leap is more of like he's pulling himself into the leap, and it just makes more. I don't know why I have this weird difficulty understanding what people are trying to say.
I don't think it's just you. I think it's just like the way that you and I see things is just different, and the way we process things.
Yeah, it might just be because I know that my view of how to judge art has definitely changed, and judge things has changed because I've become more of a programmer. Mm-hmm. Like when I started this, I was a programmer, but I wasn't a massive programmer. It was sort of 50-50 between art and programming. Whereas now it's more programming, less art. But VR, and it was only because of going back to like giving feedback to some of the year groups on their art and hearing the feedback that was given, I started to realise, oh, I've completely forgotten about all of that stuff in art. And now that I've remembered it, not only has it made me allowed me to make better art myself, which I don't get much time to do, but I try, it also allows me to sort of give better feedback to people, because that's important. Yeah.
I mean, I have like a really kind of nice like segue off of that. Like, does anyone else have any like kind of thing to add on to that?
Pretty much.
We've got like, because we haven't got much time left, obviously, because we're doing this for like in an hour.
Well, we can go over a little bit.
That's fine. But like, I kind of wanted to. This is kind of interesting. How did you two, for example, like meet in terms of like project working on the same project? Like, what was the first project you worked on? How did that like go?
Ilara.
Yeah, it was the third year project.
So you started in third year, okay?
Yeah.
In third year we did the VR one, which was I think pretty successful. In our final year show, it was really popular.
Which one was it?
The one.
It was the VR game, wasn't it?
The VR game.
Yeah. The one where you're walking around this huge environment.
Yeah.
With all the
so
glowy
cool. Yeah, that was
stuff.
awesome. I remember playing.
Yeah, that was.
I think it's the one game that sticks out in my mind. It's like the game.
We even had the mayor of Farnham play it,
Really?
and the head of uni, like
so
UCA,
cool.
play it.
And what was your, for example?
But we had, just to cut in, we had a really similar situation, which is funny, where we had the 3D modeler who sort of came in afterwards again.
Yeah.
And he was sort of, but in this situation it was different because he was happy to be given stuff.
And
so
he
was being the freelancer 3D artist,
right,
in the uni context, which was really nice to have. He was,
he was a really good.
He was dedicated. Yeah. I mean, he was also quite a bit older than us.
Yeah. He got married after.
Finishing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he finished the game show, and then went off. But yeah, that was really cool. And then after that, we sort of had a year of off each other, because we didn't get the incubator, which was, I think, the best thing ever happened to us.
Yeah.
Because it gave us the opportunity to sort of work on ourselves a bit more. I tried another VR project with the modeler who didn't, connections. And then you did some
sales,
business, marketing. So it was nice. It was nice to practice that a bit in the real world. And then we, because the reason why we got back together for this project was because I fed up of working on the other VR project, and also we finished development on that. So we're just doing marketing and sort of logical things on how to get it released. And at that point, I just went back to him and was like, "Why don't we just do a game and go back?"
Was it you or me that contacted you?
I think it was sort of, I can't remember. I think because I remember talking to John about being like, "Look, the development's got down. Let's do something. Let's do a game." And maybe you contact me at the same time.
Probably. Yeah.
And yeah. I think we were playing League or something like.
Oh
yeah. Usual
Bringing
stuff.
people back.
Bringing people together in the best ways.
Shouting at each other and cursing.
You're not doing it right!
Fuck you! Let's do a game together.
And like,
Button mash!
and like from like the get go, what was your like work dynamic like? Did you have to take like time to kind of mesh well with each other, or was it?
You mean from Elara or from the
Yeah,
second?
from when you very first started, was there any kind of like contention?
I think
Did
we
it take you a
were
little
pretty
while
good at figuring things
I think there was
out.
at least from my side, there was a bit of at the beginning, just making sure that we were both happy with doing it that way. Because I know, and I did this with you guys when we moved into the incubator.
Yeah.
With you, Sarah, and James, I was like, look, if I ever come across as too forward or I push ideas and stuff like that, I did the same thing with him basically, just to make sure that we both are on the same level.
That doesn't bother us.
Yeah.
We're all open for that kind of thing.
But
yeah, definitely.
I have worked with people that don't work that way, so that's why I always try and make sure whenever I'm in an environment that everyone is on the same level.
Yeah, it's good of
that
you.
case. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, once we figured that out, we just sort of went for it.
Yeah.
I like to let people know when I first meet them in a similar way that I'm a massive dick.
Exactly.
It's just
You're overcompensating. It's normal.
Anyway, moving on swiftly.
But what about you guys? Because you
I don't really remember.
you started
that
third
well.
year together as well.
So
we started in second year.
Yeah, we
working
started
together.
really like we. So obviously I was in your year originally, and then I retook, and then I went down back into like where your year was, and I was you guys. I was only retaking a portion of first year, so I wasn't doing any like game project.
But I know that everybody knew you as the artist because you were like above and beyond all of us, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
see that like wow, I wish I was at that level.
I don't know. I was like, because I remember because I also remember that being your reputation in our year.
Well, as a
program, because you were like above and beyond like people in terms of coding, and you had already like made games and stuff. I don't know when the conversation happened, but like really early on, we were just like, we should just make a game in second year. We should just go for it and combine what we know. I think, and then we had like Thomas.
Yep.
Like so, it was originally you, me, and Thomas.
Yes, and then Sarah.
And because like Thomas is an insanely good like 3D artist.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a job at.
He's at Gorilla now.
Gorilla,
He works at. He's.
Oh wow.
I think I'm not sure if he's specifically working on anything.
I don't know. He's working there.
But they worked on Horizon Zero Dawn for anyone that doesn't actually know
who they are.
Yeah,
That's what they did.
So
have done. They've done more than that, but that's notable.
So he's a character 3D artist there, junior. But he was really strong.
He's insanely good.
And I remember going into second year. It was kind of like, let's just make like this kind of insane group that we can just kind of like use each other's like maximum abilities.
We saw the previous year's projects and we went, let's top that.
And then like obviously Sarah's good. Sarah was just such a good all rounder and like. if not only that, she was like by far the most organised person in our year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like she was just good at like everything. Not only like just like helping each other. She did a lot for like the environment 3D stuff.
She did so much in the environment, the texturing. Just
Yeah.
I was, but at first she took quite a while to sort of get into it.
Yeah,
But after like
really
a little bit of
picked it up.
encouragement, she just went all out on that.
But she
That
wasn't originally going to be in our group just because I was in it, because we were already dating at the time, and like we had already
Yeah,
had.
that must be
we had already
a
had-
stressful
so-
dynamic.
So
there.
we I remember it was literally the day that we were forming groups, and
Yeah.
I had literally gone to go meet her because she was doing something else, but I'd gone to go meet her, and we'd already established our group, and we were already sitting together. And we were like, okay, we don't even need to like do anything in this way. And I was walking with her, and I was even telling her it's probably not a good idea if we're in the same group, just because of like I don't want to let like any kind of like relationship struggles that we may potentially have like get in the way of
Absolutely.
of our game. And at the time, both of us were on the same wavelength.
Yeah. She was
Completely
telling
on
me
the-
about this recently.
Completely on the same wavelength. We were like, we are definitely not going to do this. This is not a good idea. But then when it got to the point, she didn't have anyone to work with because everyone had already like established their groups, and we kind of like made a very kind of like critical and important decision there to just like say, let's just join our group. It should be fine.
We absorbed her into our group.
Yeah, but again, she
this time.
she filled like she filled like every single kind of downside that everyone like potentially would have had. Like she was just so versatile, and not only that, she's just really good at like she's very good at speaking. She's very good at like socializing, like organization stuff. She was always like setting up folders and documentation
Yeah,
for us.
it was great.
She's doing that now.
Yeah.
Like she's in charge of the social media, so she's always been like really good in that sense, and very flexible. So it was really weird. But like even from that moment, we rarely had issues.
Yeah.
We rarely had like we didn't have any kind of. There was never any point in any of our games where we were like a bit like you. We didn't have any kind of any issue with dealing with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we
There were a couple of timing issues that we all struggled with.
Yeah,
but at
like-
the same time, that's to be expected because we've never really done what we were trying to do before.
I think the main thing is just getting used to each other, like how each other works and the way that people work. I think that's really important when you're in a group. You need to compromise with people and how like they operate and how they do things. Obviously within reason. You can't just let people get away with like.
No, of course,
doing
of
nothing,
course,
but,
of
like,
course.
certain people work in different ways. For example, you will sit there for ages on the same thing and grind at it.
Yeah.
I can't do that because I'll need a break from it because I won't be able to figure it out if I like. For example.
I mean, I shouldn't do what I do because I end up leaving it for a day, coming back and going, oh yeah, that's what I should have done, or I see the word that was wrong.
Work on a different part.
But from
it's difficult.
But from experience, it's very dangerous to go into a group and expect everyone to work the exact same way as you because it doesn't work and
It's
it's
kind of
going to cause
impossible.
issues.
That's where management comes in.
Yeah.
Of the group.
That's the whole point of
And then
working
like,
as a team. You
yeah.
get each other's strength and
then if
also
you-
the weakness. Though.
and then if you have issues, then you just deal with those issues, and then like everything. We didn't have any like. We never had any. It was really weird, and I was saying to people earlier, like I'm just fortunate enough that like because I always preach people that you need to try out lots of different things and like be very as flexible as possible. But I was very fortunate enough to just be able to just consistently do 2D and really focus on that.
I'd be the same because from second year when I haven't done any modeling, any 2D art apart from when I can't explain my stuff to Masik, and the only way to do it is by drawing it. Because
MS Paint has never been more useful.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can't even do that. I'll just do it by paper, take a picture and send it through Messenger because that's the quickest way to get an idea across. And that's why I always tell any other programmer that comes up to me, like now teaching first year, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. No, you have to be able to draw at least line work to
A
say
sketch.
that. Yeah, sketch something
even
out.
just basic shapes.
And I obviously regret not being able to like do any of that stuff, but like.
I mean, you did pretty good.
But I've had the fortune to be able to like from second year it was basically like, James was like, okay, you can just come and do the 2D, and I was like, cool, and that's all I've ever had to do.
On the other note, I mean, even in your first year, in our year, you were known as the good art. Yeah, like you were part of the group as you, Naya, and probably John.
Yeah,
sort of.
John,
Yeah.
as well.
You three were the good, amazing artists. You know.
Yeah.
So I think going from that, it's sort of natural from you
Yeah.
to be in that.
It's also
to just keep going with
also
that.
if you're a 2D artist, I was talking about this a little bit. It's very dangerous to like, at least for like me, it's very dangerous to dabble in other things. And and I like people to like obviously diversify and learn the basics of certain things. But like when the amount of time you have to invest into anything really, but especially with 2D, the amount of time you have to like invest into like practicing all of these abilities is so insane. So like
that is a big thing.
it is a huge thing.
But there is a lot of 3D tools that you can learn pretty quickly.
You can.
That you can actually help.
Be
with
useful for 2D as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you need to have an understanding of like how, at least some level of understanding of how things work.
And there's coders that have to know everything.
I have
Well,
something.
I mean, you don't have to learn. With programming, it's different because although it's good to have a basic understanding of like basic maths, and when I say basic, I mean GCSE level maths. So like
trigonometry,
basic
algebra.
trigonometry, a little bit like it's good to know algebra. If you can read algebra, good. Not the like really complex stuff though.
Almost like
you don't
coding.
need that.
I was using matrices.
Okay, that's not even slightly beyond me. But, like with programming, you always have to. It's basically if you don't know how to do it, look it up, learn it for like half an hour to an hour, even a day.
And then spend
sometimes.
3 days trying to implement it in your project.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Programming is essentially, especially if you're learning from like tutorials and stuff, and especially if it's not in the same language, it's just translating. Because you're just taking like a maths thing, like let's say you've got a triangle and you've got to work out the triangle, the longest side or whatever it is. That's just Pythagoras from
I
GCSE.
feel like that's the main difference between like coding and art making, is that art making requires actual manual practice with like, keeping your brush strokes practiced and everything like that.
Because you're not just training the theory, you're training like the muscle memory.
Whilst in programming, yes, there's like a load of documentation that you have to go through and like sort of, but that you can find on the fly when you need it.
Yeah.
It's mostly training the logic side of it and training.
It's like learning another language.
It's exactly learning another language because once you know how. Let's say you're learning what we learn C#. Let's say you're learning C# in Unity. If you have never seen code before, it is literally learning another language because once you understand how to read it,
I hate it.
once you understand how to read it, you can apply it to. Or you can then go and look at other code and go, oh, I understand what's going on there, even if it's not in the same language. Because what I did was I started on JavaScript.
Oh, did you?
And then I moved on to ActionScript, which is the inbuilt language in Flash. Back in... So I think it was Flash CS6, I learned that. It's very similar to JavaScript.
So I started from HTML... Not the new... What's the new one? 5, right?
5.
No, I started from
3,
4.
When abouts did you start?
It was high school, so like...
Might have been 3.
Nearly 10 years ago.
Soonish.
Probably 3.
Nearly 10 so I did...
We'll end this soon.
I studied HTML,
Alright.
PHP, CSS, making our own custom website completely. Then dropped it because I didn't think I was going to do it. And then came here to this course thinking I was going to be an artist. Saw Connor, was like, ha! I'm not going to reach that level of goodness. And just went for programming.
Yeah, because like what I was saying was like going from JavaScript to ActionScript was slightly easy because they're very similar. And then you suddenly switch to C#, which changes a lot of things of how you have to write things. Because in ActionScript, I could write for like, I think it was if statement, or I didn't have to have a semicolon at the end of every line because sometimes it would do it for you. I still did it because people were saying it was good practice, but I didn't have to.
But you didn't realise until you started doing C#.
Yeah.
Why?
So when I started doing C#, it said, "Oh, you need this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I would have to if statements were exactly the same, for loops were exactly the same. That was nice, but then it's like voids, and I didn't know what a void was. But in Java, it's a function. So you have function and then you name it and then you have all the code that you want that function to be. But I didn't understand that until I learned some basic tutorials, And then I did exactly what I did when I was learning Flash, which was basically the first time I was properly getting into code, which was I learned how to build one game. The screen's gone again. Which was, I think I learned how to build Copter. So Copter was the game I built in Flash.
Also known as Flappy Bird.
Also known as like another version of Flappy Bird, except you don't have to keep pressing the button, you can just sort of hold it and you'll go up. But I actually turned that into an app in Flash, and then I learned how to take apps, or how to build games in Flash to go onto phones. That was the hardest thing I ever did, but I'm so glad I did it because I learned how to translate code from other languages into the language I needed to.
And back I needed to tinkle.
So anyway, yeah, that's how I, like, once you learn the language, you don't need to know the maths, you can look that up. Someone out there will have a formula of some sort that you can then just translate into your code. You understand how to access the math functions of your coding. Essentially, it's a coding library. You just say, oh, I need this book or function, and I need this particular chapter from it, and then it will do it for you. It's great. It's actually, I didn't think about code like that, as if it's like a big old library and you're just like writing an essay essentially on, but you're taking different chapters and quoting them.
I mean, it's probably one of the biggest open source sciences out there, really. Like, in the sense that it's, not actually, no, it's not, but it's like science, to put it this way, because you're constantly basing yourself on other people's research, and then you're just reusing that and then further improving that.
New things.
Basically, yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. If you know science, you can learn code.
Yeah.
If you want to be a scientist, learn code.
I think so, pretty much
What are
nowadays.
you doing, Connor?
Make a funny noise.
So anyway, Connor's descending into some sort of boredom here, of sorts.
No, I just don't know.
It's
I
just a
don't know-
frog.
I just don't know anything about code.
We're starting. I can tell that we're starting to stagnate a little bit.
I think it's time for league, isn't it?
We're getting copyrighted music playing. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to. We're probably gonna finish up here. This week's been a lot about what we do and stuff, which I think is quite a good first episode podcast thing.
With the average of one viewer.
And
for
the
the
average
whole
of, well, I don't know if
thing.
that's accurate. I'm assuming it's accurate,
I
but
mean,
like
I
I've
think
known
it
that.
isn't accurate.
No, I've heard that the Twitch views is not accurate. We'll find out from the analytics afterwards because that tells you.
okay.
Our viewership is.
Oh shit, it was one.
But
I mean,
no,
actually,
we
no,
don't
it
need to hear it. It said it's over 9,000, but
I think they can hear.
no, okay, right. Anyway, thank you for coming to watch. I'll probably put this on the Incubator
Cheers,
YouTube
lads.
channel if I can access that.
Just
So
ask Andy.
this will be up on
We need
YouTube.
it.
Wait,
What?
Whoa.
I'm gonna render this out and put it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Not
Yeah.
render it out. It's already exported by Twitch. Thank you. I'll save that. Put it.
I'm just
on
quickly mentally going over what we've said, just
YouTube.
being sure that.
No, we didn't.
Wait a second.
forever embedded in the
Yeah,
internet
exactly.
history.
Like
Nothing bad
No,
on record.
Nothing particularly bad was said.
slightly edited, mate. I don't
No,
know.
I'll probably put it out on audio. I may have edited for that, but that would be cool because then all you audio people who like listening to it on iTunes and things like that, and
Jesus.
SoundCloud can.
Jesus, you're going.
How big is your audience?
Not very.
He has 51 followers.
You need to
61.
You need to think about that from the start.
About 60 of them are inactive.
I think it'd be nice to do like an incubator thing, like account or.
Actually, you've had 63.
I think
3
we
new
do have one,
subscribers.
right?
Two
What, Twitch?
I think
subscribers
Andy has
today.
one. Oh, do you mean on
2 new
Twitter?
We've
subscribers.
got a YouTube one. There's a YouTube one.
Oh, well, we could try live YouTube.
No, we're not doing live YouTube.
Is it bad?
Twitch is better.
I mean,
Twitch is better in every
we
way.
can do
We were
both.
paid to say that.
yeah.
We were
We
paid
can
to
do
say
both
that.
at the same time.
If Twitch wants to sponsor this podcast, then I'm all for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Can raise the sponsors.
Any
Sponsor our
funds I
podcast.
get during this presentation, I will split with
And
everyone here.
Coca-Cola.
Oh.
So you can go ahead and
So the 2p that we'll get from this
The
will go
2p.
full way.
not that there'll be any pence from it.
And Coca-Cola.
And what? Yeah.
And to Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola is taking 70% of our
unofficial
cut.
Actually no, because they saw your segment going every other flavour Coke's shit.
I didn't say that. I said
You've abandoned it. With
I said I didn't even like Coca-Cola, you know,
Yeah.
because I
that
don't.
ship is now sailed. I was trying to do you guys a favour, and it's sailed, man.
Let's get sponsors.
We still have bucks,
But
we haven't
Waitrose Christmas
told anyone
pigs in
about
blanket sandwiches that Connie still hasn't eaten.
How is that still there?
Trying to eat it.
I know.
Yeah. So
Hungry.
thank you for watching.
Bye.
We'll see you next Wednesday at approximately
Slowly waving
some
hand
point. I'll tweet it
until
out.
you stop
Follow me at the
stream.
link in the description. I can.
We're playing Commander next Wednesday.
Are we? Okay. Anyway.
Actually.
I don't know.
No.
I just
Thank you
thought
for
I'd put it there
watching.
just in- So it's on record. So if anyone says anything, I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Laters.